mental health initiatives, the school report card system, and a narrowly averted government default. We've got a lot to talk about this week. You're watching the weekly Advocacy at Work update from the Chamber of Catawba County. I'm Brian Francis, Advocacy Director, and it's June 5th, 2023. Now, last week, one of our Chamber legislative priorities was discussed in the House K-12 Education Committee. We've identified revising the school report card system as a priority so that businesses and the employees they're recruiting can have a better understanding of the quality of our local schools. State Superintendent Catherine Truitt gave a presentation to the committee and explained the need to change how those grades are determined. You'll recall 80% of a school's grade is currently based on end-of-year testing scores, achievement, while only 20% is based on the student's improvement on those scores. Now, Truitt told lawmakers that this model is not sufficient for defining school quality or student success. The Department of Public Instruction has implemented an advisory group of educators and policymakers to re-examine school letter grades and determine additional factors that should be taken into account. They plan to make more detailed recommendations to the legislature next year and hope to have legislation passed during the short session. Additionally, there was another topic of statewide concern that was discussed last week. The House Health Committee heard H. 855, Strengthening Care for Families and Children, which seeks to add significant funding to our mental health initiatives in the state. The plan is based around three key components: $225 million to improve access to behavioral health systems, $200 million to build a statewide behavioral health crisis system, and $50 million for telehealth programs and a centralized bed registry. Now, the funding comes from the $1.75 billion bonus the state will be receiving from the federal government in exchange for expanding Medicaid, and the House Appropriations Committee will consider that legislation next. Now, in last week's video, I discussed H. 347, sports wagering / horse racing wagering, and its movement through the Senate. That bill has now passed the Senate and will go back to the House for a vote on concurrence. If the House doesn't agree with the Senate's version, it'll go to conference committee where the differences will be negotiated. Additionally, Senate 291, the QRIS / star rating reform bill, which would begin the review process for how child care centers are rated, has now passed both chambers and been presented to Governor Cooper for his signature. And we have a local bill, House 66, Boards of Education Elections. That passed through Senate Rules Committee last week and will likely be on the floor this week for final passage. The bill would establish partisan elections for the Catawba County, Hickory City, and Newton-Conover City school boards. We continue to see progress on the state budget. On Thursday, the House officially appointed 47 of their members to the Budget Conference Committee, including Representative Mitch Setzer. We expect that the Senate will make their appointments soon. And lastly, as you have probably heard, the federal government's debt limit has been increased, allowing our government to honor its spending commitments through January 1st of 2025. The deal struck between President Biden and House Speaker McCarthy passed both houses with bipartisan majorities. That's it for this week. I feel like it was a lot. We'll be back next week to look at more legislation that could be impacting your business, including perhaps an update on the budget, as some are speculating that that will be finalized and voted on by June 15th. Until then, I'm Brian Francis. This is Advocacy at Work from the Chamber of Catawba County.